Hello everyone, you're watching New World News Network. I'm Jamie Starr, and this episode is Socialist Symantics. One of the big things going on with the Bernie Sanders supporters is the idea of democratic socialist instead of socialist. And I think it's important with this to understand that America is a republic. There's a set of rules and laws that supersede democracy, which democracy is a euphemism in and of itself for mob rule. That's why we take a vote. It is the organized mob rule. So if you want to say, democratic socialist, if I'm going to dumb it down, then it's just mob rule society. It's collectivism before individualism. So I still have a problem with it. Having this semantical game really doesn't change the moral objection to it. And there's an economic objection to it as well, and there's a historical objection to it. You can object to it on numerous different points. And the implausibility factor of some of it is an even whole other level. But this is a video that came across my timeline, so I wanted to show it, and I'll even go through some of the comments.
Seems like a scary word, but a recent poll shows a majority of millennials don't even know what it means. So why is presidential candidate...
You can tell with the music already where it's going. It's so upbeat and happy that if it wasn't talking about this shit, I'd probably love
Socialism!
Playing in the back.
Seems like a scary word, but a recent poll shows a majority of millennials don't even know what it means. So why is presidential candidate and time traveler Doc Brown advocating for something the older generation fears and the younger generation doesn't know anything about? Because he's not. He's using the term democratic socialism, which means something else entirely. What's the difference? Let's explore in this episode of Long Form. Whether you agree with Bernie Sanders' political views or not, it's important for Americans to understand the difference between traditional socialism and democratic socialism. It seems a lot of people are just hearing the socialism part of the phrase and immediately prepping their underground bunkers. So let's first break down what socialism is. First off, it's not communism, and this is what a lot of people equate it with. Communism is an extreme form of socialism, just like fascism and monarchism are extreme forms of conservatism. I know, lots of words, but the point is there are extreme parts of any political party, and socialism does not automatically equal communism. What it does equal is the idea that people should run a country, and not big businesses, banks, and corporations. It also says that the society should be a place where all people work as equals in cooperation for the common good. More extreme versions of socialism advocate that free markets and money should not exist, that people should be working for the good of the men and women in their community. Now, despite what Fox News and the Conservative Party might have you believe, this is not what democratic socialism is. Democratic socialism is socialism through the ballot box that says changes in the government and society should be through fair elections. Democratic socialism also says that the basic foundations of a society should be provided for through the government so that the people of that state can have a happy, healthy life. It does not do away with free markets, private businesses, or your freedom. Unsurprisingly, it's already playing a huge part in our country and you may not even realize it. Some of the most obvious are things like Medicare and Social Security. But people don't realize that the reason we have a military, national parks, prisons and the whole justice system, public transportation, disposal of your toilet waste, garbage collection, firefighters, police officers, and even the roads you drive on are because of democratic socialism. And the Republican Party, who has recently been calling out Bernie Sanders' ideas as un-American, perhaps don't realize that the thing they love most right now, border protection, is also a democratic socialist program. The most impactful of these programs, I would argue, is that democratic socialism is the reason why every single child in this country has the right to get an education through high school and not pay a dime. But let's look at the flip side really quick. These programs do take money, and because the government would have to pay for them, it would have to increase taxes in some way. In countries successfully implementing the programs Bernie Sanders is advocating for, like universal health care and free public college tuition, taxes are higher, especially on the upper class. But because of these taxes, they don't have to pay for things like going to the hospital or getting an education. They don't have premiums or student debt. They have a more equal distribution of wealth and generally a higher standard of living. So it's time we get rid of the stigma around socialism and look at the actual individual policies being proposed. Do we agree with them? If you don't, that's okay, but at least you know what you're voting against come election time, and not just advocating blindly against a phrase you might not understand.
All right. So first, on the policies, I can say first off, I think the idea of this free education is an awful idea because I think most of our problems and the fact that socialism is even becoming an electable idea and all of this shit going on recently is due to the education and the lack thereof, and the fact that these schools are just churning out compartmentalized idiots that aren't really good for anything. There's a study I had come across a while ago, and it's been made into little cartoon, there's a video series on YouTube where they show drawing cartoons while someone is giving a speech or a lecture, and they mention an IQ test given to children where when you ask kids if they're really young in a class, and they would do this as they were going through different grades, what can you do with a paperclip? And the kids, as they were younger, would have more creative answers. Because they would say, does the paperclip have to be like 9 feet big and made out of steel, or is it made out of rubber? And they would get very imaginative and everything. And then, as they would get older, they would ask them, how many uses are there for a paperclip? And as they got older, the answer became more uniform to clip paper. And so you can see how there's a compartmentalized programming going on as the way, stifling innovation, and that's all we're lacking. You have to be an idiot to believe that the Earth is overpopulated and that depopulation is necessary or something like that, because you have just projected out so much of your own inadequacies on people to think that we can't just figure out simple systems to feed everyone. I mean, distribution, things are not properly distributed, but it's because of government, and it's because of government regulating it. The problems are not going to be solved in a centralized manner, and that's what this socialism is proposing. So, if you go down, you can see, I'll take democratic socialism over the fascists and the Republican Party any day. There are some there, but that's why you gotta sort through them and see that there is variety amongst them. And the overarching principles are far better as far as individualism over collectivism. That's the problem. Let's see, you have people promoting Australia's healthcare spectrum. Now the thing that you notice though, 26 likes, 63 likes, 12 likes. Here you have someone saying there's no such thing as democratic socialism. Go back to your economics class. When you distribute wealth, the incentive to work is erased. Socialism is socialism no matter how much you phrase it or preface it. The problem with socialism is you always run out of other people's money. And that, of course, has 54 likes. So, even if we were to go by their mob rule tactics, most people aren't going to choose this, thankfully. They still know these are implausible ideas. I love how he lists government services, which democratic socialism programs, all of which are either failing, Medicare, Social Security, in severe debt, public transportation, energy production, or severe criticism for failure due to civil liberties, prison systems, police systems, justice systems. And again, this is because when the government takes it over, they start functioning in a busybody manner, because otherwise they'll have their funding cut. So you have systems like CPS going off the wall, assuming every parent is abusing their child in some way, because they have to keep finding cases. They're incentivized and have quotas to kidnap children. It's insane that it's a day and age where this happens, but it's because of the nature of government. So it really would be better if these were all handed off to private businesses, and the moment we found the private business slipping up, you could just fire it and bring in someone new completely. When you have government doing these jobs, the accountability factor goes down. Not only does the incentives to innovate go down drastically, but accountability goes down because you're just changing suits. The policies stay there. The policies, if they end up fucked up, whoever's implementing them, it's whatever. This is the problem with the police force. The police have policies and laws they're enforcing that are awful. It also says that, the government's created the drug cartels. Income taxes you pay every year goes to the Fed. It doesn't even go to Congress or anyone like that. So you have overall that most people are objecting to this, which is a good thing, but I thought it was important to point that out because it really is just a semantical thing, and this is the game that the left does as far as how they use code words for things, where they say that welfare means black people, immigrants means Hispanics, abortion means women. The whole code thing, where even if you're talking to them and you're being completely honest, everything means something else. Racism means privilege plus power. There's a social dynamic sort of mind control brainwashing technique just being implemented, so you can't even have a conversation with these people because they're always looking for some deeper meaning that only they understand, and it somehow also gives them moral high ground. So I thought I would share that lovely Bernie Sanders promo video, Democratic Socialism. So